personally, with your family, the things Dominic, the very questions you brought up before, right? Like, hey, I want to make sure I'm balancing what I want to have a family and these other things. Dude, you don't build Apple without sacrificing that stuff. And I don't know if I look up to those guys. I don't know if I that blind passion without the mental check you put on yourself at the beginning of the podcast. I don't know if I value that sort of stuff.
That was Bryan Poerner today on the Running Effect podcast. I have the privilege of speaking with the president and CEO of Diadora, Bryan. And today's conversation was an excellent opportunity to dive into the makings and the success and the journey of trying to create a one-of-a-kind running shoe company, running shoe brand. Bryan dives deep into Diadora, his background with the brand, becoming the CEO, why he believes in it, why they put performance first, signing their first ever NIL athlete, Marco Langen, and stories behind that, stories behind revolutionizing a spike and what that process has looked like. And we also dive into some deep philosophical talk around success and sustainability and how to live a wholesome, holistic life while balancing and juggling a bunch of different things. This was a really fun conversation with Bryan. We hit it off right away, and I hope you guys enjoy it as much as I did having it. If you do, consider giving us a follow or subscribe wherever you listen so that you don't miss more conversations like this in the future. Take 5 seconds, give us a 5-star review, and the last thing, share the episode with a friend. That is the easiest way in which we can grow. Without further ado, enjoy my conversation with the one and only Bryan Poerner. Bryan Poerner, welcome to the Running Effect podcast. How are you doing this morning?
Dominic, I'm great. Thanks for having me.
So we're in kind of middle of August, and I'm sure we'll dive into your background as a D3 steeplechaser. I imagine you also competed in cross country. For me, mid-August reminds me of the shift in weather where your summer miles are revealed in some of those early season cross country workouts. Take me back. Do you remember or have any fond memories of early cross country season going back on campus?
Of cross country? I mean, dude, I'm a 49-year-old man, going to be 50. This morning I went to the track at 5:30 a.m. and did 200s, and the smell of the grass, like the cut grass this time of year, I swear, like the drizzle and the smell of the grass, I had flashbacks to like 93, with my buddy Jay Resch, like getting ready for cross country practice. So yeah, this time of year when the leaves start turning, there's so many. I think there's like 2 or 3 moments in the season. Like you have that end of the summer feeling, you have the first fall feeling, and you have the first cold feeling that all takes you back. And cross is the best. Like if you're a distance runner, I don't care what anybody says, cross is still the best because it becomes about your team. It's a team sport. It's not about your time. It's not about, and times don't even matter. Like you could say 15 minutes and it could be amazing at one park and slow at another park,
That first workout where you have to wear a jacket for the warm up and then you slowly take clothes off and you're ripping by the end of the workout. Oh, yeah. I mean, how you described the smell of the grass, I had that exact same feeling on my run this morning. And I was like, I feel like a shift.
It's the best. Yeah. And we always talk, even with my kids, we talk about like, it's a long sleeve, right? That half zip you wear with like, maybe you wear tights or short tights. The first time you have to do that is the best.
Cross country is kind of known for, you learn the qualities of leadership and culture and team building. What were valuable qualities you learned back in the day in college that you now put into your business and into running a company now?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, it really is. I had a call with another buddy from my high school team, this kid Mike, a couple of days ago, and he's going through some personal stuff, and he was like, the connections you make with people. You spend all this time with people, you put in a lot of work. I mean, I don't want to say it's different than other sports. I'm sure they all sports, have their level of work, but I don't know, man, you are constantly running 12 miles a day with the same 7 to 10 people, connecting, fighting, learning to deal with people, learning to deal with each other, respecting each other. Everybody has a kid who's like super left and super right on their team, and you learn to have this dynamic where you might not agree, but you respect each other, and this is super fun. And you do make these, I think there's something special about the friends you have with high school and college cross country because you spend so much time with them when you're maturing, when you're figuring out life, when you're figuring out how to act, when you're figuring out the things you want to be doing, don't want to be doing, when you're testing all of that. So I think it's deeper with the kids you grew up with.
If I was to go back to your college self and say, in 20 years, you're going to be the president and CEO of a running shoe company, would that version of Bryan have believed me?
I don't know. Maybe does that sound like ego?
No, no, not
But
at all.
no, like dude, I love running. Um, I love running so much. I got super lucky. Um, I was playing music and I had a record label and I was doing all this music stuff and I was like waiting tables and I was doing construction type stuff for my dad and somebody asked if I was running a little bit for PUMA, and somebody asked if I wanted a rep job, and I was like nervous. My whole family's been blue collar, and I had a coach at the time, this dude Charles Torpy. He was the coach of LaSalle, and he's kind of the one who forced me into it. He's like, don't be a wimp, like take the jump, because dude, I thought I'm supposed to be blue collar my whole life. I didn't imagine this, but I don't know. It's an interesting question. I've never thought about it. Um, but I am an optimist, Dominic. So maybe it's something I could believe.
How I've thought it with my life is I'm not surprised at the things that have happened, but I'm like grateful that they shaped out the ways that they did. I'm curious if you feel the same way, where like who you are and you know the qualities you have, and so it's like you're probably not shocked at where you are or what you've done, but it's more like I'm happy that it happened this way.
Yeah, like you could relate it to running, right? Like, I got faster after college. Like I ran with I ran D3, great great team, great teammates, great coach, but it's different, right? And then I moved to Philly because I was playing music, and I met D1 kids, like two 16 marathoners and sub 4 milers, and and not a real coach, a really good coach, and it changed my life. I got much faster. I'm sure if I put more time into it or I started earlier, I could have been faster, but then I wouldn't have like toured in bands and I wouldn't have produced records and I wouldn't have been creatively as stimulated. So would I trade it all for a 210, or I'm making it up, right? Like, or a sub 14 or whatever parameter is good in your head. I don't think so, right? Like you still want, I still like every choice I've made, even the bad ones, because it brings you to where you are.
How did you make that personal calculation there of like, because I was talking about this with a guest yesterday who's new into running. You'd actually appreciate him. His name's Zach Tellender. He's kind of like a country music star. And 79 days ago, he just had this realization that he wanted to see how fast he could run a mile. And it's turned into 79 straight days of running a mile or more. But his background's in music, so you guys have that relatability there. But I was kind of having this discussion with him where, you know, people, you can go all in on running, but if you're not a Connor Mance, how worth it is it, right? Like you could have sold your soul to run X time and you probably
Yeah.
still wouldn't have won an Olympic medal. And instead there is some beauty in kind of being good, but also being good at other things and not sacrificing other passions of yours. How did you kind of come to that conclusion? Or even
Dude,
now?
Dominic, if anybody ever figures it out, you let me know, because I have no fucking idea. Like to this day, this morning I told you I woke up and did 12 times 200 because I'm gonna run a 5K this weekend, and I told my kids I want to run a certain time when I'm 50 for no reason. The amount of time it's gonna. I told my kids I want to break 16 when I'm 50 years old, right, in the 5K. I'll find some turkey trot and try to do it, right. Does it matter in life? No, it has no meaning in the course of my life. I like the discipline. I like being judged by a black and white standard. There's no interpretation of it. It's black and white, but I don't know why. The amount of time and energy it takes to put into a pursuit that is pretty selfish. I can't figure it out, Dominic. I mean, what do you think?
I don't know. I think it's like, even for me, I could probably be a low 220s guy if I
Yeah.
devoted my life and trained like a professional runner, but I would way rather, have a life and a good company and podcast and relationships with family. I think where I'm more curious is when I get married and have kids. I'd be curious to get your thoughts on that because you're in that space. Like, how do I balance work with being an excellent father? Because I will maybe have to sacrifice being the second best, sports podcast in the US and instead be the 10th, but I can play with my 2-year-old son in the morning. And that's
Dude, I
like
think
a
that
thing I'm willing to give up.
the one thing I think is but being conscious of that. I meet people that are not conscious of it, right? So the balance is never really there. I think if you're conscious of it, the rest takes care of itself. So like, even my running was something I did with my kids because I travel a decent amount when they were young, and it's experiences that we could do together. But dude, I think the biggest thing, Dominic, like even that you're thinking about it now, like will it is an example of the father you will be or the person you will be, because you will not allow yourself to go super left or super right. But it's with anything you do. It's with your podcast. It's the relationship with your other friends. Like there's always a balance to it all, right? And if you are you know more exposed to more and more interesting people, maybe your worldview becomes better. That becomes more valuable to your kids. Maybe if you travel more, there's a, let's say, a yin and yang to the whole thing. But again, I'll go back to the fact that you're conscious about it now is a really good indicator of it.
How much you mentioned, wanting to break 16 minutes in the 5K at 50 years old, how much of that desire comes from outside perception of you run one of the biggest up and coming, running shoe companies in the world. You want to be at the helm as someone who's a runner and a respectable runner. Because I think about that for myself sometimes. If I never ran, I'd have no credibility having a running podcast. I don't have to be, again, the
Yeah,
best, but there's a sense of, okay, I should be doing the act. Now I want to be doing the act, but there are times where I've needed like a little bit of a break or a little bit of a, step back because I'm burnt out. And I do think that voice in the back of my head of like, look, you're in this industry, you should probably be running, gets to me. Do you ever feel that?
well, okay, there's two different parts to that question. I think the first part is outside perception. I don't know if I even think about that. I told my kids I want to do it. I probably want to prove it to them, or I mean, it's definitely different running when you're 49, 50 than when I'm 25 or 30. Like you feel different. It's harder. You never have fresh legs. Like they always feel like you're on some beat up post tempo day. So there's that side of it. I don't know if I care too much about that, except just fun stuff with my family. Now, the second part of your question is to be doing the job I'm doing at a company where performance is at the center. You can't fake it, right? Like you can't fake knowing what the final lap of a steeplechase feels like, or the difference between an 8K or 5K cross country course, or what it's like to run on grass versus dirt. Like all that stuff you can't fake when you're developing product, when you're thinking about athletes, when you're thinking about a split short, what a split short versus a tight feels like. All these things are different. The example you and I were talking about before we started of like the first run you do in the fall, like you want a light tight versus a heavier tight, like all that stuff you have to know. So if like our company is owned by this dude Enrico Pologato. His vision for the company is a performance brand, nothing else. Not performance is at the center of everything, and to live that life, not only myself, I need to surround myself with people where that grass smell that you and I know, it's in your blood. And if it's not, then cool, go do something else. Like there's lots of brands that think differently than we do, but to do what we want to do that Enrico has tasked me with, I have to think about the business that way, or the thing that way, the actual craft.
You have a background, D3, worked at PUMA for some years, worked your way up within that company from more entry level to more managerial. And now I'm curious, how do you bridge the gap between those things and Diadora? And can you take me through your journey into the company and now your vision for it?
What do you mean bridge the gap, Dominic?
Between your years at PUMA and then ultimately being at the helm of
Yeah,
Diadora.
look, I learned. I have a lot. I learned a lot there. I was there 16 years, I think. I learned everything because I managed different parts of the brand. I was super lucky to work with a lot of great people who gave me a lot of opportunity doing different things. I managed different sports. I managed different categories. So as a person in this industry, I got to be exposed to lots of stuff: marketing, sales, NCA. I mean, everything. Um, when I came here, the biggest difference is when you're talking about bridging the gap is um, the thing I was talking about before about performance being the mission. There is a huge difference between focusing on performance and focusing in on sales. With performance, sales will come, right? Like we're still a company, we still want to grow. I'm still competitive. Like if I'm seeing some of my competition, I want to beat them the way if you ran in Erie, you want to beat the kids from Clarion or Pittsburgh, whoever you're racing against. Like you still have that thing in you. So I do have some of that in me, but the focus is performance. So like maybe PUMA was a lot more of a company where you're trying to sell stuff. It was always about that. Here it's about, how do we give Marco the best advantage in the next two Olympic cycles? A kid we signed from Villanova, to make a team. How do we do that? How do we set him up with training? How do we give him the best spike? How do we do that? So the focus is just different.
I want to ask you about Marco. I was intentionally waiting, but I'll ask you now. He was someone that I had requests to get on for like over a year. Kids would be in my DMs, get Marco Lang. And I didn't really get it until the first minute of speaking with him. And I thought, wow, this kid's story, how he talks, his lack of filter, it's amazing. It is a dream
Yeah.
as a podcast host in terms of like, this is a product that, is going to inspire people. And I got so many messages after that conversation, just because he's so raw and he's so honest. What was the process like of getting him? And I correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he's one of the first NIL athletes. What's it like to
Yeah,
have
he's the
him?
first.
Yeah.
Yep.
What's it like to have him represent the brand?
No, so look, a couple things. Number one, um, the process of Diadora, the perfection of the craft. We needed to wait until we got to performance athletics until we knew our spikes and things were ready, so we could serve him. The idea of doing it till he wears our shirts, it's not what we're about. Like we don't care about that. It's more, do we have a spike that's we feel better than the competitive spikes that could bring them to a different level. And if you saw, he raced his first college in a different brand for a bunch of years. He wore our spike twice in Ireland and in Belgium, I think, and he PR'd twice. So like proof of concept to me is like sick. And this you were saying before, these are the things I live for, right? The fact that we've obsessed on this spike and the PRs twice in it is like the best after a long season is the best. Um, Now, process wise, dude, I'm from Jersey. I grew up down the Jersey Shore. I grew up in Ocean County. I've seen that kid race since he's been 14 years old. Like his coach, his high school coach, was my camp counselor at cross country camp when I was in high school. Like
Wow.
it's the connections really deep. He called me up when he was like a sophomore in high school. His coach, this guy Rob, and said, "Hey, this kid's special. He's gonna. I swear to God, we got to get him at Diadora. Or we got to get him with you. Whatever it was. It's kind of just when I was starting." And here we are a bunch of years later, and everything just worked out at the time. And he's amazing to work with. He came into our office with when we were first talking to him, and I meet a lot of young runners, and hey, what do you want to do? And it's not like, hey, I want to run NCAAs. I want to do. He said, I want to be the greatest distance runner of all time, and he meant it too. He really meant it. So dude, you can't fake that stuff. And I got goosebumps when I heard it. So I'm honored. I'm privileged. This company's privileged. We talk about it all the day. He's a great first step into this world for us.
In the future, what will you look for qualities of future NIL athletes or professional athletes that you want to work with?
I mean, look, this is such an amazing time for distance running in the States and in the world. You look what Jakob has done. You look at what Nico did this year. You look at what Connor just did in the 800. I mean, these are mind-blowing things I never would have imagined in my lifetime. And they're all happening right now. Helping the next generation of distance runners, and for our focus, American distance runners, get to that level and even go beyond the things I'm talking about now. That's what we want to do. So like when Marco looks at me and says, I want to be the greatest ever, dude, I believe him. And let's try to get him there. So probably this, Dominic, it has nothing to do with your Instagram followers and nothing to do with anything else besides, do we think you can be successful on the Olympic stage or in the future of American distance running?
Correct me if I'm wrong on any of these assumptions, because I'm about to throw some out there, but I feel like where you guys are at is maybe where an On or a Hoka was 5-10 years ago, where people maybe know the name, but they haven't seen it winning races yet. They haven't seen it on pros that consistently yet. And so you have that fun, unique challenge of probably inside your heart, believing in the mission, believing in the products, but knowing that you're not quite where you want to be. And it's just a matter of time. What's your kind of mindset as you're building this company into what you want it to be one day?
Yeah, dude, Dominic, I think I pause from saying it's not quite where I want to be, right? Like, because what does that mean? You'll never be satisfied. You'll never be satisfied. The things I told you that happened this year about Marco PRing twice. I mean, that spike, Galindo Bourdain's our head of sport. Monica's our head of product. They were working on that for a long time. Angles, types of carbon. When we release it, it's going to be way more expensive than a lot of shoes on the market. And people are even going to think it's too expensive. That's fine. But dude, the kid PR'd twice in it. I'm so proud of that endeavor. So when you say like, hey, it's probably nowhere you want to be, I swear I'm not interested in that story about where we are versus other brands. Now, do I get competitive ego-wise, like I was talking about before about cross-country comparison? Sometimes, but that's more like bullshit and stuff you shouldn't even really be thinking about. It's dedication. It's dedication to the craft. You are right that I'm probably at a fun time in this company's, let's say, come up, where we get to do interesting things. Like we just this thing in Flagstaff for the summer. It's one of the greatest things I ever did in my life. And we did it first. I know other brands will do it in the future. And I could get upset about that, but why? Like I would way rather keep pushing boundaries and keep trying to do this stuff.
Where do you want the company to go, and how do you measure success?
Oh, I mean, look, it's not my company. It's Enrico's company. He wants to be a performance brand. It's a private company. We have certain ways we could think about the way we develop this company that's different than a public company. We're not fully obsessed with returning shareholder value. When you do that, Dominic, you maybe have to make some sacrifices in product because you have to get a better price point that's going to work at a mall shop, because if you look at all running shoes in the market now, the reason that they're available in a lot of different places is because there is a little bit of compromise to some of them so they could hit price points to be in certain levels of distribution. I don't know if this makes sense. We don't have to do that. I'm super happy with where we are. I'm happy with what we started with Marco. We're going to add to the future of performance. I mean, we have a roadmap that Ryan, who runs our marketing department here, is working on that I'm super excited by. So it's almost like I really enjoy. Okay, think about it in this metaphor. Like you could have a goal, like you talked about 220. You want to run 220 in the marathon. You pick grandma's next year, and that's going to be your marathon. You have a year and a little bit to train for it. So is your success based on if you hit 220 or not? Like I love the journey. I love each session. I love each long run. I love all that stuff. And it's how I think about my running to this day. I love the actual process even more than the end goal, you know? Dude, I don't know if I'm being too cryptic, but
No, that
I'm
makes so much sense. I mean, it resonates with me in my running journey. Like, I was so competitive in high school, and then I got out and I had to reframe so much. And I think for me, goals are exciting, but they're not sustainable. So for me, I want to protect enjoying that process to the point where I've noticed when I start to think of these big goals or these dreams or these things that will require 15-week long blocks that will take from other aspects of my life, I'm like, I don't think I'd enjoy running at the end of that. And so I bring it back and I say, well, what would make me enjoy the process of running every day? Literally just running without a plan. And so that's what I've done the past year. Eventually, do I think I'm going to get back into the strict structure of training? I'm sure I will, because chasing times and, the personal betterment is exciting. But for me in this season and chapter, I am really protecting the process. So I totally get what you're saying. Even
Yeah,
with
and
this
it's funny
podcast,
too. Like
yeah,
it's funny too. Like, do you still like wear a watch and all that stuff when you're
yeah, I
running?
do, but I don't really care. It's just numbers don't mean the same.
I still see. I still do. So maybe I'm a hypocrite too. Like I do like making sure I run a certain pace. I like the process. I like all parts of the process. I still I've never been able to um, accept like, hey, I'll go for a run, look at the trees. I still like the physical output of what you get by running hard, you know. And there's times where I can't because I don't have time and this stuff. But when I can and I prioritize it, I still like the whole thing, every aspect of it.
Right. And if you didn't enjoy it, you wouldn't be doing it in the first place, probably.
No,
So,
dude, I don't know what it is. I mean, I'm sure it's a form of meditation, a form of therapy. I'm sure there's a zillion different things. It is for different people. I don't know what it is for me. It's been there since I started running, I think fifth grade. I ran my first field or fourth grade. I ran my first field day. I joined cross country the next year, and it's been a constant in my life since.
and I think running for a lot of people is that escape from reality and that like sacred space and time. Even for you, I'm curious, like your life is probably so stressful managing running a company or helping to run a company. And running is that one place where it's kind of like its own pursuit and it's kind of its own world. And then you kind of go back into your other worlds. Do you feel that way?
Well, I don't know. I mean, maybe. Um, dude, I feel like it's the same, Dominic. And I don't know if I feel like it's the same. I don't feel like it's an escape. I feel like it's present. I feel like maybe when I'm running, I'm thinking about work. In this age now I was thinking about this recently with podcasts and with constant access to news and media. And you could run with songs on your watch and put ear pods in and you could always be connected. There's like, I've figured out there's this balance I have with listening to economics podcasts or business podcasts or MSNBC or all this stuff, right? Like I get filled up. I have to like balance that with creative thought. And it could be about work or life or whatever, but detaching from that, doing creative things. If I don't do that, if you never process the information you're taking in, you're always just absorbing or you don't absorb it correctly. You're not processing. Dude, I don't have this thought totally fleshed out. I've been thinking about it recently, but I felt this way. I've been taking in too much information without processing it, you know? So maybe the running for me is when I detach, even if I'm thinking about work and still involved with that thing, it's allowing or life, it's allowing me to process it.
I think there have been studies done that your brain operates at like a different frequency and level when you're walking or you're running. So for me, I've had some of my best ideas on runs when I'm just with my
Yeah.
thoughts. I think though the problem in society today is you kind of went down this rabbit hole because we're constantly being stimulated. We love stimulation as humans now with our phones, and so now we've brought it with us on our runs. I'll be the first to say I'm embarrassed to say this, but I'll go on the record and state I've replied to work emails while running. I don't know how, but I have. And so
Yeah.
we bring our work and our life in phone calls and podcasts and music, which aren't objectively bad. And we've put it on the thing that used to be our free mind space time. And I encourage the listener, like, when was the last time you were with your thoughts for 30 minutes or an hour? I mean, it was probably a while ago.
Yeah, Dominic, I do the same. So like when you're saying I'll be the first to admit, I do the same. I'm just saying I've realized I have to balance it. So
Mm-hmm.
I'll leave my phone in the car, every other time or something like that, because I'll, every other time, dude, I just listen to like the Daily and the New York Times stuff. That's or Planet Money or stupid stuff like that. But it still occupies space, right? Like, and I don't think about things because even when you're driving, you're listening to podcasts. Like, you don't have that space anymore. I'm really consciously trying to make space for myself to think.
And it's because you're, I mean, a genius thinker. You wouldn't be in this role if you weren't. And so
I don't know if I'm
protecting.
a genius thinker. I just
Uh,
I just like I just need to be thinking.
yeah, I don't know. I think
I
you
think
can give
anybody,
yourself
it's a
flowers.
healthy balance.
Yeah, I mean, if you're the CEO of a running shoe company, I think you can give yourself flowers. And I think like there was this quote from Naval Ravikant, if you know who that is, but excellent
Mhm.
thinker. Check out his podcast on modern wisdom. One of the best 3-4 hour
So you're trying to
interviews.
fill my brain with more
Yeah,
stuff.
exactly.
See?
Exactly. And he's got this great quote that all of man's problems arise because he can't sit alone with himself for 30 minutes with his thoughts. And I was like, wow,
Mm.
that's excellent. Because again, I
Yeah,
think
it's
we're scared
like
of being with our thoughts.
all dude. My whole life, I've met people who've been into meditation, dude. I feel like that's what running is always it's probably scratched that same itch for me, and I never knew it. And it's probably why I'm feeling that way recently because I've been absorbing so much. Um, yeah, it's news and podcasts, and there's so much happening so fast that I've consciously made an effort this year to scale back a lot and think more and even do more creative stuff just to, let's say, work the other side of the brain.
Yesterday, I was using ChatGPT. Something I like to do with like their 5.0 or just some of the new AI models is I'll think of podcasts or companies I look up to, and then I'll have it kind of break down the principles and lessons that made those companies successful and have it apply it to the running effect. So I did it yesterday with Apple and then a few podcasts like Rich Roll, Pat McAfee, Diary of a CEO, and had them take those examples directly apply it into the running effect. For you, when you think about building out Diadora, do you look up to any of the four leaders like an Apple or different corporations in different spheres that you want to model some of their principles?
Dude, it's funny you're talking about Apple because look, I have financial responsibilities, right? Like anybody. I want to make sure, like a company, I give good life to the people that work here, all the people at management levels at the company. We all have the same goal. We um, yeah, we all have the same goal. Um, Personally, so the work side is one thing. Personally, when I think about things like Apple, I remember thinking about dudes like Steve Jobs and um, building this huge empire, and what sacrifices do you have to do to get there, right? Like personally, with your family, the things you're, Dominic, the very questions you brought up before, right? Like, hey, I want to make sure I'm balancing what I want to have a family and these other things. Dude, you don't build Apple without sacrificing that stuff. And I don't know if I look up to those guys. I don't know if I that blind passion without the mental check you put on yourself at the beginning of the podcast. I don't know if I value that sort of stuff. Now, um, do I value like obsession on craft, which is totally different, 100%. So when I think about people that I admire, it's usually artists, writers, musicians, comedians, like people who are dedicated to a craft and say something. I don't even want to say unfiltered, but like say real stuff, um, and live by by a. This sounds so fucking old school. This sounds so corny, but like live by a different set of rules. Like let their be guided by their own principles, like things they actually believe in. And you can't do that if you're trying to build the biggest computer company in the world. You have to make tons of sacrifices personally and professionally. Does this make sense?
Absolutely. It's a concept I think about a lot where someone said this on my podcast, I think quoting someone else, and he said, champions tend to be broken people. They sacrificed everything in their life to be really, really good at one thing. And you look at the greats in all sports, Michael Jordan, best of all time in basketball. I'll take that debate to the grave. He's better than LeBron. and he had a gambling addiction. Tom Brady, best in football, divorce, Tiger Woods, the whole podcast you can make up of his issues, greatest golfer of all time. And then you look in business as well. Yeah, Steve Jobs, all the issues he had personally. And so I think it is a personal calculation of what do you want, as well as I think a constant chase and pursuit for people like you and myself is how do you get what you want out of life and be quote unquote successful? What does that look like while also not losing your soul in the process?
Yeah, dude, I think there's a balance, right? Like I think this job for me would be different at let's say a company with a let's say that was 10 times as big. I'd have different pressures, different things I would have to sacrifice. I don't have to do that, right? Like I could focus on the thing I want to focus on. Like you're talking about training. Um, yeah, like you're talking about training. So I don't have to do that here. I just know, like, to your question of like, do I respect those guys? Dude, I question that stuff more than I respect it. And the examples you gave about Brady and Michael, I mean, people are flawed. So like you can't say they're not great people because humans are flawed. I'm sure some of those guys struggle or people struggle that you're talking about. Man, I think what you said at the beginning, I'm going to quote it again, just being conscious of it, right? Just being conscious of the struggle, trying to do your best, being genuine. I think those are the most important things.
From the sounds of it, Diadora, you would say, is a performance-based company. Performance is the key focus, the key metric. What does that look like in the years to come? What can people expect from the company?
Um, well, like I'll use our spike as the example. We worked a long time on it. It wasn't coming to market to hit a certain date. It was coming to market when we feel like it's the best spike on the market. So it's going to come to market for indoor track season this year because we just finished it. We just had field tests with Marco and he PR'd twice, right? But if you think about it, it's going to be pretty expensive. Um, but our items might be that way, right? Like our training shoes might cost $10 or $20 more. Our yeah, this sort of thing. But like we're trying to make the best product. So you could think about us in a performance category of the next generation of cross country, track, those categories, performance items. So and focus totally there, Dominic. Like even within running, if you start thinking about focusing on trail racing or give me another category, ultras or things like that, you can get distracted by the mission. And if I'm spending 100% of my time trying to perfect a tempo shoe for a 10K runner, right? Like that is a training item, and I'm not spending 10% of my brain, and my team's not spending 10% of their brain trying to do a ultra marathon shoe. Like, do we want to be the company that perfects all that stuff first?
How do you carve yourself out in this space where it's all kind of the same talk of the same foams and the same plates, and there's just a few little discrepancies between companies?
Yeah, dude. It's an amazing question. It's focus. So when I'm going to repeat some of the stuff I just said, but if you look at a lot of companies, and they're making interesting product, but you look at the overall company, you look at the whole thing, and look at, I don't know, actors or actresses they're signing, or fucking jogging clubs or participate, like all this stuff. It's a distraction from having a kid run 12:40. You know, if I want to see an American run 12:38 or 12:35 or these things that I never thought would be possible when, Bob Kennedy broke, 13 minutes, but I think are possible now. I have to focus on that spike. Everybody on my team has to focus on that spike. And dude, we're not distracted by that stuff, Dominic. If you go to, we're not distracted by it. I could give you examples, but we're not distracted by it. That's how we'll stand out.
What excites you the most right now when you're sitting in meetings, when you're planning strategy? What gets you excited?
Dude, we just did this pop up, and I'm still buzzing from it. So it's something that happened, but we built out a shop in Flagstaff for the summer, and it was one of the best experiences of my life. There were so many high school and college kids that went out there to train for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks at a time. Like, there might be two kids from Orange County who rented or tent camped, for 3 weeks so they could train at elevation. Or there was, Shippensburg, which is a school in PA, which you probably know as well, Steve Spence coaches. There were like 10 kids who came out by themselves, rented a couple houses. School from Miami, Bell Jesuit, like 20 kids. They bought a chef. Like that was like the other extreme. But seeing this thing happening in the summer, and we were part of it, right? We set up this shop with Run Flagstaff, and we provide services, talks. We were involved with the community. We were there for a full month doing activations with It was amazing. So I'm still kind of on the afterglow from this. If you look at what happens in my industry now, a lot of people are doing kind of the same things. Nobody has provided service for this community that's happening, and I love that we were able to do it.
Speaking from that performance perspective, I've heard stories, I've seen studies where you want to get the consumer young, because if you can get them young, generally you can keep someone across industries, not just running shoe companies. And so I'm curious for you, how do you plan to break into that, competitive junior who's always worn Nike and he's unsure if he wants to try something new? What are the strategies to really break through in this space?
Yeah, I don't think about it that same way. I think if we are constantly focused on the the things I aspired to when I was a kid coming up were the best products. Now, is that mass consumer? Like, does every buddy who jogs and it's a different thing. It's not disrespectful, but is everybody who jogs a 5 hour marathon or 6 hour marathon or runs a 5 hour marathon, are they inspired by the same things? Probably not. The things we are thinking about are premium performance products. So there is a huge. I don't. I think the kids you're talking about is way more open to that and way more looking for that than other consumers. And when you're 13, 14, 15, 16, this is when your favorite bands, you associate with brands as but the brands have to mean something, right? It's not just a you can't fake this stuff. So we're just trying to make sure we mean something, Dominic.
When you think about, your future, do you think you'll be here in 10 years? How do you view your role in the running world, in the running space, and how does that relate to Diadora?
Do I think I will be in my role at Diadora in 10
Yes.
years?
Yeah.
Or do I think I'll be involved with running?
All of the above. Yeah. Where do you think you'll be in 10
Yeah,
years?
I look, I love this company. I love the opportunity that Enrico has given me. I work with this guy Claudio. He's amazing. The team I have, to be in a room where all we do is talk about performance when we're developing spikes, when we're developing training footwear, is unlike anywhere else that I've experienced at in this industry. Um, the fact we're a private company gives a little bit of leeway, but I love it so much. I'm so lucky. You made something like genius thinker, dude. I'm a guy who was running and loved running, who got lucky a couple times, and that's where I'm at. Uh, I want to see this thing out. I'm 50. I want to make sure we're still on a mission that I want to live the rest of my life. Like like performance footwear, turning people onto that, only operating at the highest level. You don't get this opportunity at a lot of places. You just don't. You have to figure out how to sell shoes at the mall. You have to figure out how to get kids at the hip store to also like your product. These are different. They're fine. These are companies. It's different than a performance pursuit. It's just a different thing. And so I really hope I get the opportunity to be here.
What advice would you have for a young entrepreneur like myself or someone else who wants to stay in the running space, wants to build something of their own? What advice would you have for them?
Oh man, I don't know. This is a hard question for me. Um, yeah, it's a hard question. When I go back to my time in music, dude, I never did it for money. You know, when you started this, I don't know if your motivation was to try to be, the youngest. Like all the things you've accomplished, right? Is because you like talking about this. You like turning people on to running. You like growing the sport. Whatever your motivations are, I think no matter what you do in life, if you want to be an architect, if you want to open a restaurant, whatever it is, if you want to do whatever, you have to be true to that passion first. You have to make sure it works within your life, but never to be like a zillionaire at it. Like start with making it applicable within your means and following your passion. That is the corniest follow your passion. I know it is. I know it is, but it's so true. Because if you don't do that, I don't know what else there is.
Yeah, you were onto something without knowing it. I started this podcast with the one goal I had when I was pressed for what is your goal. I said, if I can impact one runner with each episode. And I think that low barrier to entry allowed such a holistic approach and mindset where I didn't really care when only 50 people listened to certain episodes,
Yeah.
because it was never about, I didn't make a cent off the podcast, I think, until 2.5 years in. And I when I made that first cent, I didn't think I could. So I was thrilled. It's like a
Yeah. Yeah.
$200
Yeah.
deal. And I was like, what? You can make money off of this?
Yeah.
And
No,
yeah,
dude, I remember leaving for tours and I remember this one kid's mom, we were all like young 20s and this was like a 2 month tour. The kid was probably, I don't know, 20, and he dropped his mom dropped him off and was asking me like, how much money is Jim going to make on tour? And I'm like, fucking money. Like, we hope you get enough gas money by selling t-shirts to go to the next town. Like, that's how you thought about it. It was for the love of all of that stuff. And because, I've never, sold out Madison Square Garden, like I never think about things in terms of success or not success. Like I got to do amazing things. I got to play with amazing people. I got to write really fun songs. Like all of that is worth so much more than, I think we have this weird notion of success and not success. And I think that's why a lot of people have trouble, honestly, in like mental sides of their life, because like we're gauged on either you're Tim Cook or you're not, or Steve Jobs or you're not. And there's so much more in between. And we don't talk about passion in the same way, you know. Um, yeah, we don't talk about passion the same way.
and why do you need to be the second Steve Jobs? Why can't you be the first Dominic Schluter, or Brian?
Yeah,
Like
100%. Why can't you do? I mean, whatever. Why can't you? Oh, I don't know. I'm going to give the stupidest examples, but you asked who I look up to for. There's like a comedian, the Scottish comedian Billy Connolly. He's had a really successful life. When I ask if people know who he is, like people generally don't. Dude, he's changed my life. Like he's said stuff that's changed my life, and he is way more prolific to me than Jordan or Steve Jobs or any of these dudes, and I respect him more, because of the life he lived and the way he thinks and the dedication to his craft and all this sort of stuff.
I've also heard this other insight when it comes to Steve or Michael. Like, don't wish for certain aspects of someone's life if you're not willing to have everything else that comes with it. Like, you can't want to be Steve Jobs without everything else that came with his life. That was absolutely miserable. And I think as humans, and this is just the downside to social media, is we want very, very specific parts of people's life when we don't know the full picture. It's like you want how much is in their bank account, but you don't
No,
want the
but
stress.
Dominic, this is, dude, when I came up, everybody's parents drove a Camry. Everybody, like there was maybe one rich kid in my town. Like you didn't have exposure to this stuff. There was a TV show called Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous that was on a channel once a month, and it would show you like Robert Redford's house or something. Now kids are constantly growing up, looking at their phone, looking at $150,000 cars and $400 sneakers and all this stuff. Dude, it's not attainable and it's not real life. But mentally it programs us to think this way. And dude, it's fucked up. And I just think I think it's a problem. I think I mean, we're getting off track a little bit, but I do think it's a problem with the way we're wired and the way we think about success.
I love this quote. It's spiritual, but something to the extent of like, imagine if you only woke up tomorrow with the things you thanked God for today. And that's always hit me. Are we actually
Yeah,
grateful for the things that we have? And if we aren't, like, do we even deserve more? Like, why
dude,
why do we think we deserve
I
that
don't,
$4 million house? Like,
I don't know where I heard it before. I don't know where I heard it, so I'm sure somebody said it. But when I was younger, somebody told me once, like, okay, you woke up this morning with both your legs or both your eyes, right? And if you didn't have one of your legs or you didn't have your eyesight, how much would you pay for your eyesight? Fucking every dime, right? Or to have both your legs, how much would you pay? Millions, trillion? I don't. Is there a price? But you don't wake up grateful for that. Both my parents are still alive. Like I got to wake up every day grateful for this. My kids are healthy, right? Like this is the stuff. This has turned into a self-help talk, but
no,
like
it's real.
this is the real stuff, man. This is the real stuff about life. So I think it probably started with that. Like, do you look up to these guys? I don't know, man. I never have thought that way. I try to be more in tune with this other
Hmm.
side.
No, I mean, you're speaking. I love going down rabbit holes like this because I think that it's relatable to everyone. Gratitude is something that's relatable to everyone. Wanting more is something that's relatable to everyone. And I think one of the biggest questions I've wrestled with this year is the question of like, what is enough, and what do I think success is? Because I had this conversation with my parents when I wasn't making really any money in high school from this, and I said, if I make $50,000 from the running effect one day, I'll be thrilled. I'll have made it in life. I said one day. That could have been 40, and I would have been thrilled. And that's such a gut
Yeah,
punch because I make more than that now, and I've done way bigger things than I think I thought I could have 3 years ago. And
yeah.
so that is a question I've wanted to come back to is like, what is actually enough? Because I've achieved things I said would make. Oh, that's one of the quotes that killed me when I heard it. Is you've achieved goals you already set. You've already achieved goals you said would make you happy. First time I heard that, I was like,
It's so
wow,
true, man. I mean, this goes into the whole, capitalist structure. Like, I don't know the answer. You asked a similar question like early in this thing. I was, if you ever figure it out, let me know, dude. I don't know. That's why you have to take. Okay, gratitude sounds like a hippie word, but you have to be grateful for waking up with both your legs, for being able to go on the run when I'm doing 200s this morning and smelling the grass. I mean, dude, when you're old, you would pay that 50 grand to go back and do one track workout in Erie, Pennsylvania and smell that grass. You would. I guarantee it. You could still do it. You still have this stuff. You could still, go to you're in Columbus.
yes, Columbus right now.
Yeah, you could still go for a run in Columbus and go get a coffee at Fox in the Snow and there's so many things
It's
in
crazy, you
life
know
that
that.
like
That's niche Columbus culture.
dude, there's like 50 of them
Yeah,
now.
there's a
I don't know if it's as niche as it used to be, but I'm saying like these things are out there.
totally. I think the key is gratitude take o- don't let your gratitude make you complacent. If you're grateful to the point where it inspires action in that day. So I'm grateful for the things I have. And because of that, I'm going to continue to live my process. I think that's the key to a fruitful life.
That might be what we were talking about before is not really understanding the running. That 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 might be why running is interesting because you're still judged on a black and white time, right? And your effort is directly put into the time you get out of it. It might be why it is an interesting thing for some of us, like to be judged unromantically by a black and white number, you
Hmm.
know?
Running such a fat. To this day, I don't really know why I got into the sport. It is such a
Yeah, me
fascinating
neither.
sport, but I never would go back and change it. And I absolutely love it. And I think why I love running is because I don't think we would have gone down the philosophical rabbit hole we did, which is my cup of tea. If if you were in the football industry, I was in the football industry or soccer. Like running at its core is it's life. Like, to me, running is life. It is setting goals. It's pursuing them. It's figuring out what is the process. It's figuring out what's sustainable. It's figuring out what brings me life in this chapter that didn't 5 years ago. And that's why I love running, is because it's so easy to apply to your life. And nature is so special. Like, I think we take nature for granted. Like, I mean, to be able to go and run on the street in neighborhoods or in a park or with friends, or I just think there's nothing like it. And I'll die on
No,
that.
dude, it's insane. You like, it's when you start thinking about how lucky we are to be on this planet. If you go up a mile or 2 miles, a couple, whatever it is, or down a mile, like, you can't live. It's too cold or too hot, or there's not enough oxygen. We're in this like tiny crust of this one planet with life, and we get to grow up here, and we get to live here and experience this. And you could be running on a forest road in Flagstaff or in Sedona, or on the track in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, and it is amazing. I go out of my way to drive up to these canal paths in Lambertville, New Jersey, Lambertville, New Hope. You could run all these DNR canal paths because I'm surrounded by trees. You're next to the river. I see foxes every time I run. It's the sickest. It's as close as I get to be able to connect every day. Back to nature.
I love it, Bryan. Final question for you, wrapping this one up. What is the final takeaway message? Can be anything you want to leave with the listener today.
I don't know, man. Go see Sparks. I was listening to Sparks this morning. Do you know Sparks, the band?
No, I thought you were talking about Sparks, the song by Coldplay.
No, there's a band named Sparks. They're touring. The older brother just turned 80. They're my favorite band. There's a documentary maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago Edgar Wright did about them. So go watch it. They're amazing. And dude, Ron turned 80. It's two brothers. They're still touring. You should go see them.
Okay.
While you get a chance.
Okay.
So that's the first thing that came to mind. I don't know why. Probably because,
go see Sparks. What's your musical taste? Is it rock?
No, I like everything.
Oh, you like everything?
I seriously love everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's me. I think the two genres I don't like are heavy metal and country. I'm not a big fan of country. But
yeah, that's impossible. Like, there are for sure heavy metal songs and country songs that would change your life.
Really?
Have you ever listened to Patsy Cline?
No, you're probably saying stuff my dad would know. But I like rock. Like, I really like Led Zeppelin. I'm big into 70s, like Bread. Do you know Bread?
Of course.
Make It With You.
There's no way you could like Led Zeppelin without liking heavy metal.
Really? Okay, interesting. Yeah, I think 70s in terms of music we'd probably relate on is remarkable. Like Reminiscing, that song? Remarkable song.
Yeah.
Make It With You, remarkable. Sarah's Smile, remarkable. I love that song. I think the refrain of that song, the way he hits the notes always makes me like, oh, this song's amazing. And that's just fun because I think I was just raised on that, like or Eagles. My dad raised me on Eagles.
Yeah, but see, there's no way you can like the Eagles and not like Chris Christopherson or Merle Haggard.
Send me some names after this, and I'll check them out.
Yeah, that's all country stuff. But like, if you're open to art and culture, and you like the Eagles and you like Led Zeppelin, you're only at one frequency away. It's probably the understanding of it or the acceptance of it, but you're so close.
Interesting.
It's 800 meters and 1500 meters. There's very little room between your workouts. It's the same thing.
That's funny. Yeah. What's funny about me, I'm the youngest of 6 kids, so big family. And I was the only one who didn't really pursue music. I played the drums growing up because my dad forced me to. But yeah, I mean, my oldest brother, he played at Red Rocks, 10,000 people 2 weeks ago.
Wow.
So we're definitely music. And then
what band?
He's just himself. His name's Seth Schleter. And cool. He crushes it. He's got like 3 million monthly listeners on Spotify, and he signed to Sony. But yeah, it's fun. And then my sister, she's like musical. So I got dragged to she played Cinderella and Cinderella growing up, and I hated that. But what shocks people who know me is like, they're shocked at how much I love music for not playing music. I'm upset. I love listening to music. So I'll check out those bands and I'll report back.
For sure. Hey, Dominic, thank you so much, man. This was super
Thank
fun.
you.
And if you figure out any of the questions we are pondering, anytime, let me
Hey,
know.
next
Okay.
time, next time. And real quickly, final question, ask every guest, every podcast. If you had Gordon Ramsay coming over to your house for dinner, what would you choose to make for him?
Dude, Dominic, I'm super boring with this stuff. Like when I think about even running and process, number one, I've been vegan since I've been like 14 years old. So there's that caveat. But I am so stoked on like a roasted sweet potato, roasted tofu, and some broccoli. And, I'll put some Bragg's and nutritional yeast and a couple things on it. But I am super simple. Maybe some chili paste, but it's a very pure, clean meal. But those are the stuff I love more than anything, even complicated.
Gets the job done.
I mean, I go out. I love lots of different things, especially, of course, in when it comes to vegan cuisine. But when I like to cook, that's like my comfort spot.
Bryan, thank you, man. Appreciate the time. Appreciate the wisdom. We'll run it back here soon.
Ciao, Dominic. Thank you so much, man. Bye.